Okay, so this is the hello world example, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some GPIOs to it to interface with the switch and one of the LEDs. You're going to need this for part 2 of your lab. So what you're going to first do is right click on here and put add IP. You put GPIO, add the AXI GPIO. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on this, put all inputs to make this 1 bit, okay, and then you're going to add another IP, another GPIO, and then you're going to double click this, you're going to put 1 bit, all outputs, okay, and then you're going to run the automation, check everything, hit okay, it'll connect it, and then we can refresh it so it looks nice, and then we're going to change these output names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and right click on this, put external bit, and then what I'm going to do is this is my output. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to call it LED. And this is my input, so I'm going to call this one switch SW. Alright, and then when you expand this up here, you're going to see the ports. Right, so you're going to use these inside your constraints to, I already have it set here, but what I did is I made the switch connected to switch 1. Switch 0 I used for my CPU reset. So instead of having it on switch 15, I have it on switch 0 in this case. And then the LED, I made it to LED 1. Once you do that, what you want to do is you want to save everything. And then you want to save everything, and then you want to generate bitstream. This will take a few minutes. Alright, so now it generated the bitstream. You could just do view report. You don't have to worry about that. The next thing you want to do is export the hardware. I'm going to export it. Since this is from the hello world example, you want to overwrite the previous one. So I'm going to overwrite it, save, and then we're going to launch SDK. Okay, now that we're in the SDK, what I'm going to do is create another hello world project. So I'm going to call this Microblaze MD GPIO sample. Leave everything else default, do hello world, and let it do that. So this will bring up the hello world example. Okay, so now it made the source, so let's go ahead and open hello world. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this code a bit. Right, so the things I added this header file. That one is the Xilinx IO header file. So you need to include that when you're dealing with IO. I put the addresses. I'll show you how you can find out the addresses for the input and output GPIO. This is from the hello world. It's just initialize the platform and print hello world. I created an unsigned char switch in. And then this function right here will read in. So this in32 doesn't mean 30, it means it's a 32-bit address. So it's going to read from a 32-bit address, which is an in address, and then grab the value, and then it's just going to output it to a 32-bit address, which that's going to be the LED. So this is going to come in from the switch out to the LED. So how you know that is, like if you look, so you can look at 2 places. I think the easiest one is in the address editor and Vivado. So if you look at this LED, it's attached to this module AXI GPIO 1 and switches to AXI GPIO 0. So if you look at the address editor, it'll assign it addresses. Right, so the 0, which is attached to a switch, is going to be at this address, and the 1, which is attached to LEDs, at this address. So that's the addresses we have to use respectively. Alright, so then I'm going to save it, it's going to compile it, and then we're going to program the target. So it looks like it's compiled. So we'll program the target. It'll write it, and then we can run it. And then down here in the right-hand corner, I'll show you an example of how it works. So this is just outputting with the switches. So now in this example, this least significant switch is the CPU reset. Before it was the most significant switch. but I just moved it over here. And then this one is going to be my switch input, which is going to turn on and off the LED. Okay, now that the program's running, we're going to test it. So it outputted hello world, but now it's just looping here. So if I flip on the switch, you can see that the LED turns on, and when it's off, it's off. And you're going to use this for your part 2.